Hey, thanks for tuning in to That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. And today's episode, we have the privilege of being joined by Loyiso Bala. And we speak about the legacy of fathers to not just their kids, but generations to come, and why it's important for fathers to leave a legacy that's everlasting. Secondly, we speak about the dynamics of working with somebody that you married with. How does that look like? Do you take work to home? Do you take home to work? All of that he unpacks for us. And then lastly, we speak about faith. And how faith is an important thing to really anchor us as husbands, as people who would lead homes, who would lead families, and what that means generally just for men in this country. All of this in today's episode. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. Here we are husbands who aren't where we want to be, but certainly are not where we used to be. We are imperfect, always failing forward, trying to know better, so that we can do better. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. This is where husbands try to know better so that we can do better. Before we get into this episode, just two things again to bring to your attention. One, thank you to everybody who's been supporting this work by buying us coffees. If you're wondering what that's about, there's a link in the comment section where you could click that. Buy us as many coffees as you want to so that we continue being energized to make this content. Secondly, if you are looking for a face, a voice for your next event, somebody to MC that, please do consider booking me. And that's at booking@blacknewborn.com. That's booking@blacknewborn.com. The husband that's sitting across the table from me today needs no introduction. That's the same statement I make for all our guests. Again, somebody in the universe knows them. But you guys might know this guy, Mr. Loyiso Bala.
Yes, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
It's good, man.
I'm good. I can't believe we're here.
We're here.
Literally met yesterday for the first time.
Yeah.
Around 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
8 p.m. And you were like, man, I've been looking for you, wanting you to be on my podcast. I'm like, let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it this morning. So here we are. We were talking earlier on, and I was just saying, this morning, like it was just mayhem. Yeah. And I just thought, flip. Yeah. Should I call Black and let him know that it looks like I can't make it because I had other things that I needed to do. And then I thought, no, man, those other people, they know me. Sure. But this guy was meeting me for the first time. I don't want to be that guy.
Come on,
who says, yeah, let's do it. And then the next day he goes, hey, man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, I'm not going to be that guy.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate
so I'm glad
bro.
I could be here, man.
So funny enough, last night my wife was like, I hope Loyiso is like you. You know, because I know when you say yes to somebody, regardless, even if they're in like some remote village somewhere, you're going to go, right? and you might even be like wrestling yourself, be like, why am I doing this? But you're going to go, right?
Yeah, but the thing is you're only as great as your word.
Your word, man.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think like as a believer, even God is only as great as his word.
Come on,
and even says that like I put my word above myself, we need so if we want to emulate God, you know what I mean, and who he is, we need to make sure that we just kind of stick to that as much as we can. But you see, God doesn't have traffic.
Hey,
you know,
we need to sort this out, Lord.
You know what I mean? He can just teleport to places, you know. He controls time. You know what I mean? Us, we don't, man.
I can't suspend it, man.
We're still in this world. Anyway,
that's great, man. Truly appreciate this. And again, like I said last night, been wanting to have you on this.
No, awesome.
And so I'm glad that, somehow our paths crossed last night.
And I met you, I'm like, these are really nice people, you know? But apparently I had sang with your wife before. I didn't quite remember, although I did. And actually this morning I said, actually you were wrong here.
Yeah.
We actually didn't sing together, but you sang, and that's when we met. So you can just see that, man. You're like, no, these are just great people. Because there were I can imagine a lot of celebrities there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like any of these people. I mean, I'm old, you know what I mean? You know, I come from the days of Ndu.
Yeah.
You know?
Tugu.
This new crop. I don't know this new crop, you know. Chances are some of them, could actually be my kids. I mean, in terms of age, not my children.
Let's hope not.
Who knows? And obviously, as you know, the industry that you guys are in. and because I used to be in that industry, you can so easily just, just pretend, not pretentious. You can just pretend just for that day. You know what I mean? It's part of, trying to grow my brand. I need to try and be this brand for today. But when I met you guys, it's like, man, these guys are real. I knew that when I see you today, I want to meet exactly the same person that I met yesterday. So those are all the good things I'm going to say about you, not just about me.
Shift the spotlight quick.
Yeah, to me, because you're just too much.
That's great, man. Before we get into a bit of your shine, we're trying to compile this resource to give it away for free to husbands who are either struggling, walking alone, don't enjoy the benefit of having a brotherhood of other husbands around them, or even younger husbands who are afraid of getting married, whether it's because of bad examples or they just don't see the value of why they should become husbands. So we want to make this resource available to them to kind of encourage them where they are. And we want to put names of husbands who are not superheroes, husbands who are failing forward, husbands who are taking the responsibility of the call of being a husband over their lives very seriously, and they've made mistakes, but they've taken accountability. They've stood up, and said, we're here and we're going to, ride till the wheels fall off and be husbands who show up, who are there. And so we ask our guests to give us 2 names of husbands who either inspired you to get married or who inspire you to stay married now. And why those two names?
So I can give you one.
Okay.
You want 2? Okay.
We need to fill up the pages.
Yeah. So the first one is my cousin. Always speak about him, Putluando.
Okay.
Bantom, who looked after us when we were at a very young age. The reason I actually went to the Drakensberg, because back then he used to work as a petrol attendant, about 1920, at the time. And we went to go stay with him in PE, which is Gqeberha now. Because there were a lot of riots back in the, in the late 80s. So they literally suspended school for like close to 2 years. Sheesh. Now children get like 2 years holidays. What's up with this, bro? Like they've been on holiday like forever. It feels like 2 years.
This is private school stuff.
Yeah, man. and so, someone who's really dear. He's been married for many, many years. Not only a great husband, but also a great father.
Sure.
These days, you actually, a lot of the times you get great fathers, but not necessarily great husbands.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know that.
So, and notice that if we're good fathers, we're also good husbands.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I'm still working on the good husband thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's why you're here, man.
That's why we're here, man. I'm actually here to sort of learn from you. So, I think my flowers would definitely go to him.
That's great.
For really just, I think as a father, just for raising such strong girls. 2 very strong, powerful women.
Sure.
One is finishing up her. She's doing medicine.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the other one, an actuarial scientist. I don't know if that's how you say it. Do you know what I mean? But so humble. And, both of them absolutely love the Lord. But I can just see that these children are just so anchored, very strong women who can just stand on their own.
That's great,
and for me, it's an inspiration for how I should raise my girls.
Yeah. 3 of them.
Yeah, three. The other husband is a friend of mine, Keith Ngesi, also in media as well, you know. And Keith, he stays in East London, or rather, that's where he's working.
Sure.
But his wife and the kids are in Gqeberha, that's 3 hours away. And you hear these stories quite a lot, you know what I mean? Because situation kind of forces us to be like that.
Sure.
Where you have to work in the one place, but then obviously your family is elsewhere. I did that for 6 months when I joined SABC. And for me, what inspires me about him is his dedication to his wife while he's away. Do you know what I mean? Because I also know some guys who see their wives every now and then. But when you meet them in their place, in their other city, you will never know. You're like, you married? You know? You know? And you know that, like it's possible. I mean, like that's very possible these days. I always say that you can never say to yourself, oh no, but I'm the kind of personality that doesn't cheat.
No. You're a red-blooded man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I promise you, just by saying that, I'm going to give you
gone.
2 days.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, because being a good husband, it's a decision. It's a,
Come on,
not
man.
necessarily, I don't want to say daily decision, but it is a decision.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a choice you make, man.
So those are the 2 for me.
Yeah.
Number 1, Upudlwando Pantom. Number
Shout
2,
out, yeah.
my friend Keith Ngesi. Who
great,
can still
man.
remain so committed
Yeah.
after having been away from his wife because of her situations.
Sure. No, that's great, man. Appreciate that. And we'll definitely put their names in this book. And hopefully, I always say, man, it would be cool for us to get all of these guys in one room one day.
Absolutely, man.
And just
To
hear their
inspire each
stories
other.
and inspire each other. Yeah, totally, you know. You spoke now about, being good fathers, but not necessarily being good husbands. And I always say, I think part of what has undermined the role of, or devalued the role of the husband in today's society is because guys don't see why I should commit to somebody if I can already have kids with them, you know. So if we can have a child together, have sex, then just go, raise the kid. I don't necessarily have to be committed to you, you know. But you've been committed to your wife for 13 years now.
Yeah, and we've been together for obviously longer.
Yeah. So,
because it wasn't an arranged marriage. Oh, married at first sight.
Married
No.
at first sight. I just saw her at the altar.
Yeah.
So, but could you explain, just maybe even walk us through the benefits of actually being a present husband, and how that influences and even shapes, how being a present father is beneficial for your kids, because again, guys would say, it's fine, I can be there for my kids, but I'm like, if you're there with their mother, the dynamic changes,
It's a whole
man.
different thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. Look, I lost my father at a very young age. You know what I mean? I was about 7, 8 years old. I may have thought that, okay, cool, well, this is the one thing that happened. So I do know what it feels like to grow up without a father.
Yeah.
Yes, mine is different because he passed away.
Sure.
But yet still I do, especially as a boy. I know how that affected my sister so much more, because not just sons, but it's also, but it's also daughters as well. I mean, mothers are great. They're great caregivers. Do you know what I mean? I think they're better disciplinarians than dads. You know what I mean? But there's a certain security that one gets when you actually have a father. I'm not saying that women do not have this at all. Do you know what I mean? But there's a certain security that one gets, especially emotionally. Why do I know this? Because I've dated a few girls in my life. Do you know what I mean? And when those didn't grow up with a father, a lot of them had security issues with men, with men in general. Yeah. I've also met girls who had great fathers, and or at least who had fathers. I don't know. Sometimes it's like you'd rather wish that you didn't have a father than actually have one because of how horrible it was to be with your father.
Sure.
I can understand in that case if it's like, they abuse you and all that sort of stuff. Then rather not. I mean, let's be real.
Frank, yeah.
But I've also seen how some girls have set certain standards because of how their fathers were towards them.
Yeah.
Not the things that they used to give them, but in terms of the warmth they used to feel. From their fathers. I know I'm talking now, obviously, from a girl perspective because I'm a girl dad. Yeah. But that's the thing. But I mean, when I lost my dad, I think that's the time I obviously I became a believer, accepted Christ into my life, and then at least I could see God as not only just my heavenly Father, but as just my Father. Period. I was also blessed as well because throughout my life journey, people came in and played that father role. Yeah. And I just think that because God works through people, He becomes Himself through people who come into your life. Yeah, right. And so for me, I believe that He showed Himself through those people in those seasons. Yeah. My brother, Zwei, became that to me at school. There was also Dr. Zolile Mlisana, who became that. There was Uputluando, who became that. I'm trying to just name them.
Sure.
I may probably leave some out.
Yeah.
There was my choir master at school.
Yeah, sure,
You know,
sure.
now this is a white guy. You know what I mean? Bunny Ashley Botha. You know what I mean? Who, like, when you try and go there, you start. I mean, he knows that like whatever has happened would have probably hurt you.
Yeah.
And you've been going, wow, Bala, you must just be strong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what father's supposed to do sometimes,
man.
you know.
Yeah.
The mom can cry with the children, but some of the times when you need to go there and just bring reality because there's a place that we're trying to get to. So, and many, many others. I mean, I think I've even had father figures who are younger than me.
Yeah.
Because I think even at our age,
Sure.
we still need, you know, like we still need, we still need that. So if someone calls you a father figure, just know that you can become that to someone, although you're actually from the sort of same generation.
That's great, man. Yeah.
Because it's not a man.
No.
You know, it's not a man thing, but it's like, I don't know, it's just, it's a bit more spiritual than just
There is, the role that fathers play, man, and the confidence that they give us. In fact, I think it was probably 2 episodes ago where we spoke about this. And just sometimes, you know, especially as a man and now as a husband, where you feel like, I might be messing up here, or I'm not doing this right. And sometimes you just need the voice of a father to just be like, yeah, you are messing up. And I think you can do better because this is who you are. That inspires a different confidence than if your mother says it or if your wife says it, you know. But if your father says it or a father figure, I think there's just something, because of how we wired as guys.
And I think that can kind of flow through different people if you don't, I mean, like if you don't really have that man in your life. So that's why, you know, I always, you know, there's a time, I mean, you know, when I sort of started getting serious again, you know, with God. And at that time, people would be like, yeah, this is my spiritual father. I'd be like, yo, that guy's your spiritual father. I won't say who it is, you know what I mean? I'd be like, no, I want a papa myself, you know what I mean? Because there was an innate need that I had. But we must be, that's the thing, man, you know, because some of the times the things that you think you need and you're reaching out for, God has already given it to you through people who are around you, but it's just that it's just not your idea of, you know, like of a father. So like, for instance, I'm trying to just kind of, you know, say this in the right way, right? It's not going to be your need, right? Won't be met by the idea of how you want that need to be met.
Sheesh. Yeah.
Do you get my point?
That's
so
good,
that's not how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to just be met. But when you must open your eyes,
so
that and ask, you know, and ask that when you see it,
Yeah.
and then you need to obviously be grateful for it, because when it passes,
true,
man, how many people have lost their fathers, and you're like, ish, you know, I probably shouldn't have been like that towards my dad. But the thing is, I felt like, you know, why couldn't he have worked more when he was younger so that we could have done better? But you actually don't understand that there was more value that your father had than that rich guy that you would have wanted as a father.
I always say to my young adults that you know, God is faithful in saying that He's gonna provide for us. Whether it's clothing, it's shelter, it's food, you know, He says He'll provide those things for us.
Yeah.
The issue with us is we just don't like the condition of the blessing, you know. So I want food, and God gives you bread, and you're like, but I wish it was sushi, man. Right?
No, but here's the other thing. So some people say, Lord, I want money, so that I can have a place to stay, for a place to stay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people keep on thinking that them not having money, that God is not coming through.
It's not coming through. Yeah.
But the thing is, who's gonna God can literally just give you what you need.
Sure.
So you know what? So I spent many years, man.
Yeah.
I didn't have my own car.
Sure.
I didn't have my own place to stay.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? When I was much younger.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a place where I could actually buy my own food, you know, but he had been in the industry for like maybe 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
But one day I woke up and I said, you know what? I'm going to start taking ownership of the things that I have, although some of them are not mine. So I looked up, I said, Lord, thank you for this house. I said, and I said, thank you for the space that I'm occupying now.
Sure.
Because I'm the only person, I don't care if this is your house.
Yeah.
But I'm the only person who can occupy this space,
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I said, this car that I'm driving is a friend of mine's car.
Yeah.
But he's loaned it to me.
Sure.
So right now, it's actually my car. So actually right now, I have a car.
Come on,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I always think that like when you start your day or you live your day opening your eyes on what you can be thankful for, and then suddenly you actually just begin to see the beauty of life, because we live our lives, and I've seen this, with other people, we live our lives so much feeling like there should be more.
There should be more.
There should be more.
Yeah.
So a lot of singers, a lot of guys will come to me and they say, I want to sing, or I want to do this thing. You know what I mean? I want to be a presenter because obviously, I run 2 radio stations.
Yeah.
I always say to them, the singers, I'm like, and where are you singing now?
Sure.
Do you have a choir there?
Yeah.
Nearby, Mklambi Park,
Exactly.
in your area.
Yeah.
Have you ever given yourself, like when you see that they asking, let's say umfundis is like Klabela,
Yeah.
can someone just start a song?
Do you
Have you
stand
ever
up?
been the one who stands up and actually starts singing?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Do you, if you want to be a presenter, is there a community radio station around? Have you gone and knocked on doors and said, hey, listen, I'd like to learn so that I can do this thing? Because people, when they think music, they think music equals to recording.
Yeah.
But what I know, right, is that your gift will make room for you.
Sure.
Not the gift that's inside of you, but the gift that you practice. So when you practice your gift, that is going to make room. For you.
Oof, that's fine, man. Like,
and I don't know what that's going to do with fatherhood.
That's
but there we
that's
are.
that's a whole podcast on its own, man. But even that, like, it's connected. You need a father who tells you that stuff. That's what you need. A father will tell you that stuff. A father will give the perspective that you have. So now, as you're speaking, I'm like, that's such a sobering, refreshing perspective.
But I guess my point is you already have what you need in order to be in order to be successful and to possibly
100.
gain the greater thing that you want in your life. So always ask yourself, what's in my hands? I'm talking to the fatherless now. Say, instead of sitting and moping, it's all good and well, and saying, I need a father. Maybe you already have that father.
Just don't like the conditions.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe the conditions may not necessarily be what you necessarily sort of want right now. It's like, this mana, say the Egyptians, this mana. May not be exactly what it is.
No, that's great, man.
So yeah.
So you got married, 13 years ago. You married into a different culture. What was that? Did you intentionally say you just, want to explore different culture?
No, bro.
Fell in love with your wife and you were like, hey, man, we'll figure this thing out. Family dynamics, how she grew up, how you grew up. How's this thing going to play itself out, Because the reason why I asked that is a lot of couples, even who marry within the same race, same culture, don't realize that by the time they get married, just our families of origin, where we were raised and how we see the world, is obviously going to clash when we get into marriage. And so people assume, well, I'm Zulu, you Zulu, probably grew up in the same hood, whatever the case is. But it's like, no, you were raised to see the world in a certain way.
So,
and so how do you make room for that in your marriage,
So let me start here, right?
Yeah.
I low-key didn't believe in marriage.
Yeah.
I couldn't say that then because a Christian cannot say that. Like, I'll go to weddings and stuff. Like, come right. Well done, you guys. Oh, look at you.
Forget this. And you get in the car, you're like, idiot.
You know what I mean? And let me tell you from where. I have a song called Girl Without a Name. Okay? So Girl Without a Name is a song that I wrote when I was about 16 years old.
Sure.
I didn't even had my first girlfriend yet.
Yeah.
But I've always been very observant.
Sure.
And I used to see how many, because I used to chill with older guys, because, I used to chill with obviously Zwa and his friends quite a lot. And then some of my friends were actually quite older.
Sure.
But I used to see men, right, who were going out with very beautiful, prominent women who were married, come to these flats to be with some chicks, and after a while, I would see them actually just not married any longer.
Sheesh,
all right?
Yeah.
And for me, I always try to understand it from both sides.
Yeah.
You know, let's say morally, but these are my morals. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool, this is not cool.
Yeah.
But why is it that these guys, I'm sure they were absolutely, totally in love with these women.
Sure.
But why is it that like 2-3 years later, they don't see their women as sort of beautiful anymore?
Yeah.
You hear of like the most beautiful women being abused, right? By their husbands. And I'm like, but I'm sure it started with love, guys. You know what I mean? I'm sure it started with love. So I used to, so then I started thinking, I guess beauty fades.
Sure.
Not physically, but beauty fades in the other ones,
Yeah.
your eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
how many guys have you looked at you like, how can this dude do this to this chick? You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
Because I used to know, like, some of my...
How would you cheat, man?
I mean, back then, we're like, dog, you got the freaking Rolls Royce of women.
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible? So I low-key, at that time, didn't really believe. So when I wrote Girl Without a Name, right?
Yeah.
It speaks about this girl without a name. You know what I mean? And then it says, but I know that someday I'll walk right out and say, like, it's enough. Like, I've had enough. It was, 16-year-old talk. My sentences weren't sort of structured that way. So people think that it's a beautiful love song, but at the end of it, it actually kind of says, but someday I'll probably walk out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because this was my understanding of it back then. So even like when I used to go out with girls, I began to realize how after, it's like on the 2.5-year mark, 3 year mark, and it just kind of felt like I was just with someone.
Yeah.
I was just
The feelings
with,
have
I was just
faded.
with someone, and how those relationships ended was that they just like disintegrated. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But and then I met Jen, my wife.
Sure.
And I can tell you now, right? I'm not even going to say sort of what happened, in that time. We can touch on that if you want.
Sure.
But I can tell you now, right, that it was not, you can't plan. You can't say, I'm ready to get married and then find someone and marry them. A lot of times when I've seen my friends say, yo, ndifuna uchata kulo nyaka, I want to get married this year. Then they meet someone. A lot of the times those things don't because you've constitutionalized marriage, right?
Sure.
When I saw her, she gave me the feeling of wanting to get married.
Wow.
And I'm like, but I've literally just met this person.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I know I've got no answer, but a lot
What
of
was
times
the time span
and I used to
of
hear
you
guys
meeting
saying,
her?
I was like, but how did you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, because every girl that I've fallen in love with,
Sure.
I always think, yo, this is the one. So I'm like, how do you know that this is the one, that there won't be another that's also going to be the one?
Sure.
And you know what? They're right when they say, you just know.
You just know, man. Yeah, see, from the time you met her and when you got that feeling.
You just know. Do you know why? Because all the other girls, right, I can rank them.
Sure.
And sometimes I can say, okay, cool, maybe this one should be number 2, maybe this one should be 3. Do you know what I mean? But usually I would say whoever I was going out with at the time, I said this one is number 1.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes there's someone that you really were in love with back then that you still hurt over. But this one you're with is like number 2. But because the circumstances don't allow you to be with that other one. You know what I mean? So I know all the different ones. But this time around I was like, she falls absolutely outside of this chart.
Yeah.
There are these girls,
and
then there's my wife.
League
it's
on
like
her
there's
own,
something
man.
that is sort of like eternal and friendship here. So she made me believe in marriage.
Yeah.
Without even talking
crazy,
about
man.
marriage.
That is crazy.
Because I didn't even think she was ready for marriage. You know what I mean? But then we were like, yeah.
So when you asked her, what did she say? When you asked her to marry?
She said yes, but I think she knew.
Yeah.
She knew. She definitely saw it coming.
Sheesh, man.
Yeah, took her to Mauritius, Nick.
Yeah. Come on now.
Went to Mauritius. I was doing a gig there, so she came as my manager. But yet still, it was Mauritius. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When everybody left, I paid for one extra night, but we went back on the same economy flight.
Sure.
You know, the return flight from what the client had paid. The client was cool with it. But yet the moment was still special.
Man. You made it work.
The moment was still special.
Yeah.
So it's the person.
Sure.
In the same way, if I ask you, you got a daughter, right?
Yeah.
I'll say with you, how do you know that you love your daughter like unconditionally? And you're just like,
just is, man.
but I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just is.
So that's how. So that's how it was.
Sure.
This comes back to your This comes back to your question.
Yeah.
Of the fact that didn't you think? No, I didn't think. All the stuff didn't matter. I
Sure.
didn't care whether because we met in the UK.
Yeah.
She's half Polish, half Ghanaian. It didn't matter. I just knew this is the person that I want to marry. And to this day, I don't see her as Ghanaian or Polish. I just know Jennifer. This is my wife.
Yeah. Sure. That's dope, man. I was watching and I told you your reality show with the rest of the family. Hey, sorry to interrupt your viewing. We'll shortly get back to that episode. But if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit the notification bell, please do that so that you're always updated on the episodes that we drop here. We want to change the nation. One husband at a time, one marriage at a time, one family at a time. So if you are inspired, encouraged by all the content that we produce on this podcast, stick around because next week there's another husband who's going to inspire us to do exactly that.
And just learning that shucks, man. Like my dad actually turned out pretty well for the kind of father that he actually had. So he actually did better. His better is really bad, but he did better.
Wow.
Right? And that affords me the empathy to give the grace.
Yeah. I was watching and I told you your reality show with the rest of the family. There was one episode where I think your family was asking your wife to wear a toque. And she was just like, I've asked to, come to certain things. Should I wear a toque? You said no. And now you're asking me to wear a toque. And I'm like, geez, this is like, again, 10 years plus of marriage and we're still talking about toques.
So our relationship with our family has always been with everybody separately.
Sure.
Because we'd never actually really been together the way that we were now.
Sure.
Since before actually, I got married to Jen.
Yeah.
So for instance, Mama may not have a problem with Ndoye Duke.
Yeah.
But she'll ask Jen to do it because maybe there's an aunt coming.
Ah, I see.
Do you understand? So a lot of the times I think that our black families put these things on us is because of how they want to look to society, but not necessarily because they sort of believe in it. So it was a shocker to us because I had actually called and said, okay, cool. What do you expect from this? What exactly is going on?
Sure.
Because it was just us as the family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's one of the things that actually shocked me from the first on that first episode.
Yeah.
So then go, wow, these people. Really? You know what I mean? They're really doing this to us, to us now. And I'm like, wow, this guy, listen to him.
Really doing
you know
this,
what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it was supposed to be lighthearted, but obviously it forms part of a much bigger discussion.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yes,
Within families.
Yeah. How do you guys handle that as a married couple? And I ask this because a lot of young husbands, and it's probably generally husbands, just feel the weight of having to, for lack of a better word, please their family or even appease them and also look after their wives, And so sometimes it's just like you could either just avoid family altogether just so that there's peace between you and your wife, or you just the guy who's always caught in the middle, So you'll try and please the family, try and please the wife, take all the bullets, but obviously that puts a toll on you, So I'm like, how have you been able to just try and navigate some of these things,
I mean, it's never perfect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Sure.
never perfect because everybody kind of feels like they've got some form of ownership to you, and also like as much as you can try and be nice to everyone, you also don't want to be seen to be enabling it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So in being in the middle, I'm also the middle child as well.
Yeah.
On top of all of, on top of all of this.
Yes.
So it's obviously, I don't think that struggle will ever end.
Yeah.
Or it will ever be fully resolved.
Sure.
Not in my family. Also not entirely in black families.
Sure.
But I think the best thing to do will be to, and this is what I learned, because you guys literally saw my journey from the time I was like,
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that there must be open lines of communication between everyone.
Yeah.
So that when you want to say something, you can go to that person and say it. Do you know what I mean? Because also you can't come to me and say, your wife.
Sure.
And then think I'm going to go to my wife and say, listen, this is how my sister feels. Because then they're just going to be like, why did you say to her?
When she said
so
your
you
wife.
You get dragged into that. But I think it really just has to have some form of, just some form of fluidity, you know.
Sure.
And some will be more hectic than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's just the society that we live in, and we just have to live with it.
Yeah, it's the South African reality, man.
You know, menopelo. Sometimes there's moments when it's like, flip. You know what? I can't with these guys. I just want to move away and go away.
Sure.
But unfortunately, it's not like friends.
No.
5-6 years down the line of talking to your family, it's gonna come back to you.
You're gonna need them, yeah.
It's gonna no, you may not necessarily need them, but it's gonna come back to you.
Sure.
You're gonna feel like you're failing in a certain part of your life. You know what I mean? It's like, what if I go away, I come back 10 years later, and my brother's obviously now old, and I look at him and just like, yes, and I haven't actually really seen to check up with this guy in 10 years. So it's a family's a burden.
Yeah.
That we just
have to carry.
Sheesh.
Yeah, man. They're not friends, like you said, you know. But there is a blessing that comes with that, as we carry that burden, you know. Again.
No, absolutely. I mean, let's think about think about children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, children are. It's a lot. It's a huge responsibility. Yeah. It's a huge responsibility, guys. Yes. I mean, like mine, obviously, like, you know, I've got one now, I think, you know, grade 5. Starting next year. Yeah. They're at school. They're all in school, but 2 of them haven't really started big school. Sure. Which is small school. Yeah. They still have to go to big school and then varsity. Yeah. And someone said, yay. One of my friends, these kids are like much older, you know, out of school and stuff. He goes, you've got all those years to go. Of school fees, you know what I mean? But the thing is, let me tell you, I still say it now, like there is still no greater joy. Mm-hmm. It's not a liability, it's an asset that you're liable for. I don't know how to explain
That's
it.
good.
The joy that you get is that of an asset. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think also, like, I mean, jeepers, there's times I just think, and I'm just like, how would my life have been if I didn't have all that? If I was just like these kids, could just go anywhere and come back home and rest. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even if my children were there, I'll still have the nanny. Yes. You know what I mean? For the things. How would I be if I just blot out that part of mine? You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. But I'm telling you right now, a lot of the times we actually forget what our life was like when we were single. Yeah. It was lonely.
You're much better now.
It was absolutely lonely. You just didn't quite feel, and that's me.
Same here.
I never really quite felt anchored. I think, man. Yeah. You know, every time I broke up with a girl, I used to be like, it's the same feeling. Like, didn't I learn to feel better on a breakup? You know, someone breaks up with me, you know? And I guess Namhlambi, the reason, maybe one of the reasons I got married was so that I wouldn't have to break up again. This stuff is so, man. You're just staring at the wall the whole time. I can't be someone, you know? So yes, was it for me to commit? No, it was for her to commit. When she thinks of going, she must think 3, 4, 5 times before doing that. Yeah, sure. You know what I mean?
No, that's great, man.
Yeah, so I really, really do think there is just so much, there is way more value. In being a father, your children growing up in a loving home. Yeah. In a loving home. Find them a loving home. You know, for children to grow up in a loving home. Yeah, sure, and there are many other alternatives, but it's also better when there's the mother and the father together.
There was a moment when you were dedicating them, and you were singing with, I think she was your eldest daughter,
Kenzie,
and you just kept on giving her the mic, and she would sing, and then eventually she took the mic from you.
Oh, and she went for it. Went for it, yeah.
And I mean, the song you were singing was just like so fitting.
Yes.
How did you feel it? Because I was watching that, and I'm like, damn, I wonder how you feel as a dad. Because I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, this feels like it's so perfect. It's planned, but I'm like, it wasn't planned. It didn't. At least, you know, when you started, I'm like, where's this thing going? And then that moment where she just takes the mic and sings, and that whole thing of praying for your kids' and that their, generations after that, would have.
Yeah,
the
that
Lord's
was my
blessing.
friend. That was my friend Hilton. Hilton Peterson.
Yeah.
Also, it's great dad.
Yeah.
Great husband as well.
Sure.
That was my friend Hilton Peterson who actually asked that song be sung.
Sure.
Yeah. And then blessed us. And then obviously we got to sing that, and he said, "Fathers, sing this blessing upon your children.
Come on, man.
May His favor be upon." I cried.
Sure.
"For 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children." Listen, guys, you don't understand. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone, I'm at a point now where it's like, of course, there's still many things that I want to achieve in my life.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I would want is for my children to be blessed.
Yeah.
And for their children. I want to speak about generational stuff,
Yeah.
Guys, there are countries out there, I won't mention them, because, this podcast is international. There are countries out there, where for certain crimes, there's a mark on you and 2 generations after you.
Insane.
I'm serious. Go look it up. Say what country, just go look it up and you'll see.
The sins of the fathers will visit the children. Man.
Literally, it's like there are certain things that literally stay, like your children are born with this mark.
With that crime.
Yeah, with that crime.
Wow. That's insane, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they know the value
of
a man when you know that you've left your children blessed,
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's dope, man. Really appreciate that.
That's what I want, man. I want to leave girls who go on. Because also one of the things, we should discuss it with Jen. She used to be like, I sometimes wonder what the point is of bringing children up in this type of a world that we're living in. Because I know that there are people who ask that, right?
Yeah.
But I know, right, that my children were needed for this time.
Come on,
so that they could be the difference. So if I truly say that I love humanity, God has birthed through me a tool that's going to be a blessing to that generation, so that others can then be saved.
Come on, man.
From that.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, every generation asks that. I'm thinking of parents in apartheid. Why should I bring my kids here in a world like this? Parents in World War.
You know what I mean?
Why should I give birth here? It's probably the Israelites in the desert wandering for 40 years.
Not knowing that they are bringing up, they are birthing children in that desert who are going to walk into the promised land.
Yeah. And from that line, the Messiah will come.
Apart from the ones who were born.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, Yeah. So it's to,
Sure. No, that's powerful, man. I think maybe the last thing, you working with your wife. So, people get married and you say, I do. There's that oneness that happens. And I always say that in marriage, the oneness is not just after when we say I do, after the vows. It's a process. You're becoming one every single day, every single year that you're married. And like you said earlier on, just the choice that you make as a husband to say, I want to be committed to my wife, every other day. That's that oneness, But sometimes, and that's where I'm at now, that's why I'm asking this question. For me, trying to wrestle with that oneness when it comes to work. Most people are like, hey, let's have separate working lives. We might be married. You work there, I work here. But to work with your wife, that dynamics are, I think they're astronomical. Because it's like work could be one thing. Now we have to take work home. Or home, take that to work.
Never mind that. I think the point is we are together all the time.
Yeah, no, and it's like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who usually loses arguments?
Yeah.
It's you, right?
So
better you are with co-workers where there's a hierarchy and they know they need to listen to you.
Yeah.
Then it's like, hey, but my wife, because I feel deeply about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How's that looked out for you?
And
why did you even make that decision?
Because I started, I actually started working with her. She. A lot of what I know when it's got to do with business. Yes, of course, I went to business school and got a degree and my master's and stuff. But in the beginning, I was an artist, man. Yeah. Street smart, but I didn't know much about corporate.
Sure.
Don't even know what HR stood for. Sure. Do you know?
Human relation.
When they say your line manager, I'm like, hey, who's that guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What line are you in charge of?
But and also, you guys are going to be amazed, but around 2007, 2008, when I met Jen, things like like we weren't that like even how to use social media to market yourself and to put yourself. We used to be like, no, you mustn't put certain things there. Like we used to be like, so like you can't do this there. Oh no, you can't say stuff like that on a public platform, as if it was the newspaper. But she knew all that stuff, and she literally, she literally like took this product, of mine, and literally like gave it direction so that it could have relevance in this world that you were in. So she's very she's very sussed on what's going on right now. She knows all the phrases, and mind you, we're like in our mid-40s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, just how we work together, like I never used to believe that you should work with a partner.
Sure. What was that?
Like you must just keep those things. You must just keep those things separate because there can be polarization. Because you're going to end up taking work home. Do you know what I mean? So and for me, once again, I was a guy who didn't believe in marriage. She made me believe in marriage. I was a guy who didn't believe in working together. And she made me obviously also believe in that. So I don't really have an answer for you. I can't say you need to do it.
Sure.
I was speaking to whoever's watching this right now.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be purposed.
Sure.
So if it's purpose that you guys should work together right now and you feel that it's working for the two of you, then all good and well. But whether you're working together or not, which is where I am right now, the one thing that you must never lose, and if you don't have it, you should bring it in, is transparency.
Sure.
If your wife asks how much money is in your account, be open to say it.
Yeah.
Be open to show her the statement.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure. Speak into that, man.
You know what I mean? Also, dog, you sure wants to ask again. You know what I mean? But if you always like, it's like, ish, because I know this one. You know what I mean? So I think open communication is the most important thing in a relationship.
great, man.
And I'm still trying to master it.
Sure.
I'm still trying to master
What are some of the benefits of working with her?
Well, the benefits of working with her is that I don't have to ask her.
Yeah.
Before I've got to go do something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I travel a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, it's hard sometimes when it's like, because I've got other managers. They're like, please, there's this gig you need to do. And I'm like, yeah, cool, let me speak to Jen.
Let me ask the real manager.
Then I take 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Like, I have to ask Jen. I'm like, baby, I need to go and do this gig next week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, like, you just inform me. Your wife will never say no. But you have to inform.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
But the thing is, when obviously she's part of doing the, writing, she's part of inserting your work on that diary.
Sure.
And then it just, it obviously make it easier.
Yeah.
I think also because you trust each other. You absolutely trust each other, and you know that she's got your best interest at heart.
Sure.
But also, I work with her because she is the best.
Come on now.
You know what I mean?
Come on now.
At that as well. It's not just a matter of, okay, let me just give her something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So so she really is the one thread in my life because I've got so many different things that I do. I mean, I'm full-time at SABC, business manager for Mhlobo and True FM, and that takes up a lot of my time during the day. But my wife always knows, man. My wife kind of knows, obviously, what's kind of happening there. I don't tell her everything. Sure. Because I don't have the time to do that. Yeah. And she's a part of my life. Sure. Guys, it's your life. Your work is your life. You don't go to work and you're like, okay, cool, now I'm just a boss. No. I'm not a husband. No. It's your life. You need to be a part of your life.
Sure. And it's probably worked out as well with just maintaining your relationship with the kids.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to be home more,
Sure.
I don't want to be that guy on Christmas. Those movies where it's like, Dad is not going to be here for Christmas. You're like, he's a bad dad.
Is he going to show up? Is he not?
He's going to show up. And then he's there at the office just going, and suddenly he just goes home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he never went to other Christmas. You know that one?
Yeah.
Or the fairy comes and says, and then suddenly he just has this epiphany, I must be home for Christmas. There's even a song called Home for Christmas.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? But there may be a time where you actually can't be home for Christmas. Man. But I think what's important, because we started speaking about security, right? Yeah. And how your children are going to feel secure when you're not there is if they have your attention and your time when you are with them. So it's really more about quality.
Sure.
than it is about quantity.
Yeah.
And can I ask that
Yeah.
something out there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Stop feeling guilty.
Sheesh, man. Why do you
Stop
say
feeling-
that?
Eh?
Why do you say that?
Because parenthood is guilt. Parenthood is there's a natural guilt where you feel like
You're
you
never doing
haven't,
the-
you're just not doing it right. You're just not like there on time. You're letting it down. And I believe that that's the devil telling you that stuff.
Sure.
It's a constant, women sometimes cry when on their first child, like when the child is like 2-3 months, the child is just crying. And you're like, what must I do?
What am I doing wrong?
Because suddenly it looks like you're just the worst mother. But if you're there with your child, as a father, even if you're not with your children, you're probably feeling as if it's like, you know what, and I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have had that child. I shouldn't have slept with that woman, because now this child is feeling the brunt of me not being around at this time, and think that I love other children more than I love her. It's weird, because as much as I didn't, I grew up in different places. My mom was there. Yeah. My father wasn't there most of my life. But I don't remember pain as a child.
Sure.
But I remember the moments that I spent with my dad.
Yeah.
I don't remember the moments that I spent without my dad.
Sure.
But I remember those moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So shrug the guilt, because the guilt can actually make you not act.
Yeah. Oh,
You
that's
know what I
true,
mean? Because
man.
you feel like, it's so bad right now. What's the point of doing anything because of how they're looking at me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was feeling that not long ago. Because part of my thing is working for a church, and it just felt like every time my daughter sees me going out, she's like, "Oh, you're going to church again? You're going to church again?" And I was like feeling guilty that one day she might grow up thinking, "I hate this church thing that took my dad away." 2 days ago, I was chatting to her, and she's like, "You're going to church again?" I was like, in fact, if you look at it, I only go to church twice. It's on a Wednesday and a Sunday. Like Sunday night, Wednesday nights, I'm at church. And suddenly she was like, "Oh, it's just 2 days." I'm like,
is it?
It's just 2
so
days.
So when I leave home and I've got a bag, and I'm going to work in the morning.
Yeah.
My daughter, "Dad, you're going to Joburg?" Yeah. I'm like, "No, my angel, I'm just going to work. I'm going to be back just now."
I'm going to be here now.
"Oh, Daddy, not going to Joburg."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, "Do I go to Joburg that much? I'm even tell her that." You know what I mean?
A friend of mine said whenever he'd take his bag, his daughters were like, he's going to the airport. And then eventually they thought he works at the airport.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Because he flies. It's like, no,
that's what happens.
I'm just going
but
down
it's funny, you
to
ask
the-
those
to
children,
the
like,
coffee
what
shop,
does your dad do?
Yeah.
He's on his computer. And then you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my word, I'm probably always on my computer." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't worry about those answers. They're funny right now. You know,
Yeah.
if you're doing what you can for your children.
That's good, bro.
And just man up. You know what I mean? Don't let the guilt, because guilt can also make you spoil your children.
Exactly.
And that's also not good for them.
Yeah. That's the other extreme, man. Sure.
So get rid of the guilt. We all feel guilt at some point, and must just need to get rid of it and just move on, knowing that we're doing our bit.
Fail forward, man. That's what I always say. Fail forward. Yeah. Sure. In closing, you said earlier that there was a point in your life where you moved away from the faith and you came back. What was that? What was going on there? You said you had obviously given your life to Jesus early, and then I think it happens to most of us.
I've always believed in Christ. I've always, you know what I mean? I've always gone to church. Always known God. But there came a moment where I was like, it was, I was pretty successful. 2008 around then.
Sure.
And there came a moment at 30 where I was like, am I still within my purpose? Not when I was at the bottom. Some people's like, and when he hit the ground or when his career went down, then he started looking up and said, "Lord, help me." Me, it was at a point where I literally had amassed all this success, to a point where I was probably going overseas 2-3 times a year.
Sure.
Like with my D-Buy as well, for all his AIDS campaigns.
Yeah.
I could walk in anywhere. My music was getting played like at 3 songs on the top 100 at the time.
Sure.
I had all these awards, and I just said, and I just thought, okay, was this the point? So all of this, right, that God has taken me through, was this the point?
Sure.
And one of the questions was, actually, who am I?
Sure.
Actually, who am I? Because, and that question came, came when I was in studio in the US. I'm busy recording material for an album, which was then going to be taken to a label and, hopefully get a whole career. And the guy was producing looked at me and he said, man, you can sing anything. He says, but who are you? And I couldn't answer that question. So at that moment I thought, I need to find myself.
Yeah.
And so I gave it up.
Sure.
I said, people go to different mediums, okay? Because we've got to understand that some of the guys watching this may not necessarily be like, be Christians. People go to different mediums to find themselves. Yeah. But for me, I thought, okay, cool. I want to go to Bible school.
Sure.
And because I need to find myself. Do you know what I mean? And if it's there, if I don't find it there, I'm leaving even this Christian thing because it's been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try and find other ways. But I started, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I found Christ.
Sure.
And in him I found my identity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's in him that I found my identity to be a father. In him I found my identity to be a to be a husband.
Yeah.
Everything that I know is because of the example.
It's great, man.
That single guy lived on this. And he was married. He says, he's the groom and the church is the bride. Come on,
he's that husband.
You know what I mean? So that's where I find it's a very tall order.
Sure.
But that's where I find my example.
It's great,
and really found myself. So yes, I came back to Christ, but I came back now as an adult. I knew him as a child, but I came back now and said, okay, cool, listen, I need to see you now and not just be doing this from the idea that you are there. Like, I need to see you for reals now. Are you there?
Yeah. Wow, man. That's powerful, man. That's great. And I think, living from that and having, a real anchor like that really changes your perspective and how you move in life, man. And I think sometimes, and I always say it on this podcast, man, having a worldview, regardless of what your worldview is, but having a worldview, how you see the world, what you believe about the purpose of humanity, what you believe about the purpose of marriage. I think you always, especially as a husband, always have to interrogate those because that's going to shape how you move. Without that anchoring, you just further in the wind, man. And that's a tough life,
So I think, just in closing to me, I want to just say, just be grateful for what you have.
Come on, man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say to yourself, if this was it and this is all I'm going to have, let me at least try and see the beauty of it, and be grateful for it. Because some other times also, like, you may be in a job, but you want something more.
Yeah.
But you actually forget to be grateful for what you have right there.
Sure.
You may be purposed to actually be brilliant in that position because you're a specialist in that. Do you know what I mean? So I want to just tell guys that just be grateful. So whether you're a father, whether you're not a father, find the beauty in where you are.
Come on, man.
And I promise you, if it should come, that next thing will find you.
Yeah.
So be anchored as a single guy. Be anchored as a married guy. Do you know what I mean? Find your anchor in you being divorced. Say, okay, cool, whether it was my fault or not, but here I am right now. And what if this is it?
Sheesh.
Let me find the beauty of it. Do you know what I mean?
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
No, thanks for that, man. This was really great.
Awesome, bro.
Excited to see how people take this, and man, we'll continue thinking about you, praying for you for all your endeavors, and please send our regards to the family and thank them for...
You can say hi to them now. They're probably watching.
Thank you so much for letting him share your story with us. Really appreciate that, man. Thank you, bro.
No, awesome, bro. Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you for watching. Really appreciate all the support that you've been showing us. Please do leave your comment. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the notification bell so that you're updated on every single episode we drop on Wednesday, 11:30. Leave us your comment. Tell us what you think about this episode. Let's continue engaging. And shout outs to all the husbands who are there, fathers who are showing up, failing forward. Hope that this encourages you and that you find value in it. I'll see you on the flip side. This is That Husband Podcast with me, Black Newborn. Right? Peace.
Like, generally, the first kind of place that opens itself up to give it to you, you take.
Yeah.
For most guys, it will be women.
Yeah.
Then you're just like, oh, this is a source of some form of validation and affection,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that becomes the well you draw from
Sure.
for the rest of your life.